Hey, my name is shawnshawn. I sell art on shawnshawn.co. Today we're going to react to Kempter. So looking at his page, he has one of his paintings at the top. That's really good. You might want to have Kempter going across. I mean, maybe or maybe not. He has the website listed right here, one of his links. That's good. He has a snapshot of himself, very close behind a violin. I don't know what violins have to do with painting, so kind of like a little bit of a disconnect. I'm assuming he is a violinist, but if your channel's about painting, it should be painting. I don't know. Maybe he started as a violinist and then he switched to painting. I'm not sure. At the top, he has some of his shorts. Some of them have to do with painting, some of them don't. So I would probably take out these ones that have nothing to do with painting. It's kind of like a little bit of a disconnect, a little bit bad branding. He has some videos, not organized at all. So he has two lists. He could have a populars playlist, which I would encourage, and maybe by subject, still life, landscape, figurative, or maybe colors, or there's different playlists you can add on that front page to make it a little bit better. First painting is called, I worked on this painting for 299 days. 40 by 30, so you know what he's working on. He walks into the scene, so he kind of got a story build. That's nice. I like that he has his colors all organized across the top. I wouldn't use basic at all. I wouldn't recommend basics at all. Maybe he uses the background, so you can fine tune it maybe with oil. So he's kind of sketching in here. I'm going to kind of go a little further.
But I was writing a book, and I'm still attempting to write the book.
So it's really cool. He has his voiceover, but he has an echoey area. What you want to do is you can record off your iPhone and put this kind of into a triangle shape with the bottom, a base, and then this, and then put your iPhone inside of that, and you're gonna have a really rich sound, so you get rid of all that echo. So that's, you probably want to redo the voiceover if possible.
And I wanted to have someone illustrate the book, and I was telling my mother about it, and I had never drawn anything or showed any interest in this kind of art with pencils, paint, or anything. And I said I want to have a lot of really good illustrations.
So let's skip ahead a little bit more, guys.
Well, I didn't give up. I kept trying to paint, and I kept painting, and I kept painting, and I kept painting, and nothing was happening because I was trying to follow someone else's work. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to attempt to paint something of my own.
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna come up with something on my own.
You can learn from the classics, and then you kind of have to let it go.
The very first painting that I ever did, and that was on November 20th, 2017. I know.
It's also smart too. He's kind of
sketch
this in and grid line it in a little bit.
That was the first time I was like, you know what? There's a shot at this. I can do this. And that was with oil paint. So for the next year, and for that Christmas, everyone got canvases, which worked out for me very well financially because I didn't have to go out and buy anyone anything.
So I like the backstory he's putting into this. It kind of gives a...
And he saw some of the work of...
story of how he got into painting and all that. It's really cool.
And he emailed the company and was like, hey, I want this person to paint for me. And I almost didn't end up getting the email because of miscommunication. But about 6 months after he sent the original email, he was like, well, thanks for nothing.
Really.
And then someone was like, hey, did you see this? And I was like,
really nice too, because it's just at a slow pace.
And so I got in contact with him. Well, I painted a Stearman airplane for him, and he ended up turning.
I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit more, guys.
A feel that nothing but a painting can give you, nothing but a work of art can give you. You can't take a photo of something and get that magical feeling that you can get in a painting. I don't understand it, but it's something that I've observed in a lot of other people's work. Where I'm like, you know what? That picture of the painting, I like the painting picture because it...
Well, what I'll say about that as far as a painting capturing more than a photograph is because if you're a really good painter, you can kind of take a realist picture and you kind of reorganize the elements so the composition's tighter and better. So that's what a lot of realist painters don't do, is they just stick to kind of the plan, which you don't want to do. You want to stick to all the color gradations. You want to get a realistic color, that's fine, versus unrealistic colors. But you want to kind of adjust maybe a barn here, a barn there to kind of fit within those third lines, and little tricks like that to draw your attention. Might want to take away elements, simplify. So that can make a painting way better than a photograph, because a photograph you really have to find the perfect setup of composition and everything, and you don't always find a perfect one. So that way you can change the lighting, the shading, and everything once you're a really good realist painter.
It's got this mystical, magical look to it. It's hard to explain, but if you've ever looked at a painting and looked at the photo of it, something is totally different, even though it's the same thing. It's totally different because of the feel and what you can achieve with art. Well, I've dabbled a lot lately in...
That's a lot of patience with that grass.
...trying to be as realistic as...
Let's skip ahead again.
This painting gave me an opportunity, and it forced me to grow as an artist. To be able to
a horse.
venture off into the unknown.
I kind of like the way
you have something that is exactly
river works, so...
what you're supposed to do. You have a template laid out for you. There is no creativity. You are literally taking a paint and going, I am color matching, I am size matching, I am position matching. You are nothing but a printer at that point.
Yep, 100%.
If you don't change anything about the reference photo. And
I 100% agree there.
I think I've come to realize that if you are creating something and you are venturing off into the unknown, that is true creativity. I haven't come to complete terms with it yet. Like I said, I'm going to be delving into this more.
I'm going to skip ahead a little more.
From the different direction. Forced me to really consider how light worked, how sun would reflect, what would be in the way. If the sun was coming from this direction, he's going to be in front of the little boy. But he's not going to be completely in front of the little boy. Part of his jacket and his hat and his shoe is going to be in the light. So I've got to highlight that. Stuff like that. That really made me think and really made me, you know what? I've got to figure out where this light...
It's pretty cool.
Once you understand things like the golden rule and things like composition, you see it everywhere. The greatest of artists, you're like, that's why that painting looks great, because they got the composition correctly.
Yep.
Nothing is in the wrong place where it's
difference.
odd to look at. And it's stuff like that that fascinates me about this trade, and fascinates me about this kind of work that you can, simply by virtue of moving something over a little bit, making the entire image fit.
Yep.
Stuff like that fascinates me.
This guy's a really great painter.
Breaking down certain elements like the cactus and rocks and...
I'm going to leave that there. It's a really cool painting. I would encourage you guys to watch the full thing. The next painting is called How to Paint an Island Rock, New Zealand Island Painting Time-Lapse, a Chris Kempter video. A lot of SEO stuff there. So he's kind of started with a prepped canvas, which is good because you don't really need the background of white to blue, right? It's a good start point, I think. It's got a tape line. That's always really smart to get a really straight line. Just silly not to use tricks like that. That really makes a big difference. I don't know why I guess because he's oil, so he's used this, but I would use masking tape. You get a much firmer thing if you start in acrylic. Oil, you'd have to wait a week or two to wait till it's really dry, which is one reason I don't like it. Let me skip ahead a little bit more, guys. So I like the music. It's kind of soothing, goes with it, but it would be nice to have the voiceover like he did in the $2.99 day video. You get a little better feel of the technique and everything. Here's using time-lapse, which is what I use, but I think the real time is the best way to actually do this. Then you just cut pieces, like take the whole time-lapse and just take a cut here, cut here, cut here. I think that's better than doing a time-lapse and crunch it down. The time-lapse does give you the feel of how it develops. Let's skip ahead more. It's kind of cool because he's added grass onto the rocks. You don't usually see grass on those rocks. You see like white from the bird poop, but you wouldn't really see grass per se. But it's kind of a cool ad. Let's skip a little bit further. It's doing a really nice reflection here. So it's got the traditional sky, just white, blue, but blends no gray in there. That works, but I kind of like to add a little bit of gray, a little bit of brown into the clouds to kind of make it a little more juicy to say. It's got some, so it's a very, very flat beach, so you're going to have this really crystal clear reflection, which is really cool. The greens are really nice, shows that really turquoise greens you're going to see in Caribbean. Very cool. And he's got a really nice signature, just kind of 2 initials. Which is nice. A lot of people just kind of block list their letters. It's kind of like, you got to develop a kind of a cool signature. So that's kind of a cool painting. This one isn't about painting at all, but I thought it was an important video to do. He's saying, is Amazon scamming you. My personal experience annoyance with Amazon, a Chris Kempter video. I haven't used Amazon because it's high rate per month. I think it's like $30 a month. Although at this point, the eBay's at $30 a month, so I guess it's, basically the same thing.
Scamming you. Don't believe me? Maybe you should watch this video and see if they're doing the same thing that they were doing to me, to you.
So I'd like to he starts with a good headshot. I think his other videos he could prove too by adding a headshot to start, like, hey, I'm Chris Kempter, blah, 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 I'm a landscape artist, and then jump into the painting. You get a little bit better feel of who he is. Again, he doesn't have like softening like in the back of my studio. I have actually this on the wall behind me. And so what that does is softens the sound. So there's only a reflection off these two walls, which you got to have kind of walls in the background. It looks goofy if you have a sound setup. But you can have that soundproofing wall in the background. It's really going to soften and enrichen that sound. I think that's what I would do in his studio. Let's skip ahead here.
Side point. Normally I don't do this kind of a video, but every once in a while something really kind of gets under my skin and irritates me, and I want to do a video about it. And I told Amazon that I would do this if they kept doing this to me. First thing, I don't have any hard 100% proof that these guys are scamming you. Obviously they're not going to do that because they're not that stupid. But what I do have is the fact that I have common sense and I'm not doing it. And so there's only one other option. I'm either hacked consistently for a year and a half, or someone else in my house is doing this and they're punking me, which neither of those things have happened. So there's at least one other option, which is Amazon is doing this. And it's very similar to something that AT&T did back in the day, and they got sued for it. So I'm not going to be surprised if Amazon gets the same treatment. So what are they doing? So the first thing that happened to me was actually finding this out by complete accident when I started kind of being a little bit more aware of my finances. So it's a $4 charge, all this random stuff. And she's like, that wasn't me. And so I'm like, well, it wasn't me, so who was it? So I started doing a little bit of digging into this situation, and I started finding some kind of really random, weird things. One, a lot of the charges were like books, but they weren't even physical books that were being sent to my house. They were like digital books. I don't even read books online. I can't really read books on a tablet or on a phone or anything because can't get into it. I like the physical book. So there'd be no instance in which I would actually buy a digital version of a book. Now, audiobooks is a different thing that I got for a very long time, was that it was the TV, it was my fault, blah, blah, blah. But they would be very nice about it and refund you everything. The only problem is you have to do what I am about to show you and sit on the phone for 51 minutes and tell them, hey, this is what's going on. Can you please refund me?
Well, that sucks. That sounds pretty terrible. I'm going to skip all the telephone conversation.
Know what's going on. I think it's the higher ups. I think it's a policy that the Amazon people are doing, and they're trying to get more money out of people. Like they're not making enough money. Kind of how greed works, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
If you call up the Amazon people, they'll probably refund you. But you got to call them up all the time. So I finally started asking them, what's going on? Can you please tell me what's going on? And this was my answer.
It have been canceled on your account.
Well, I've called you guys like probably a dozen times at this point and have you cancel things that I didn't buy and that your company ordered on my account. And after I cancel my Prime, it just randomly gets signed back up again. And it's not something I'm doing. And I've called you guys so many times that I've lost count how many times I've called you. So that's why I'm calling.
Okay, so yes, the Prime membership is a auto-renewal membership. So it does auto-renews every month on
Well,
your account.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I don't blame you for this situation, but the last 5 people I've talked to, not you specifically, have said the same thing.
All right, let's skip ahead.
Like first, we can provide you with a refund and you can still use the benefits of your Prime subscription. Second, we can end your benefits at that very moment. Like I have asked my team to end the benefits.
So the customer service agent, he was kind enough to kind of explain that to me, which is the first time in 2 years anyone has been able to explain it in that detail, which that's kind of a messed up policy. Like, why would there even be a setting in which you get auto-renewed in 3 days after you cancel it, and that's even a thing that can happen? To me, that's kind of par for the course for Amazon right now. This happened to me for 6 months, where they would keep doing this, and I would get annoyed, be like, you know what, I'm gonna have to call them again and have them cancel that subscription because it's just sitting there, and I don't want it, I never use it, and I've deleted my card off the account before, and it randomly appeared again. So Amazon has completely lost all business with.
All right, so basically Amazon's scamming people, adding little stuff in, auto-renewing when you don't want to auto-renew. So that's pretty shady. It doesn't have to do with painting, but I thought it'd be interesting to see like, what kind of artist scam is this? So he has his painting. It says he has prints, CD, original art, meet the artist, graphite drawings. I kind of like this idea, but then at the same time, it's kind of like, just open the page, you know? So let's go to prints. See, I would just have it set up kind of on a homepage that looks a little more like a normal homepage, but you know, to each his own. It's kind of cool to start out that way too, but it's kind of annoying to have a button where you have to enter the website. It just slows down the whole process. So these are really nice prints. I don't like that background he's filming off is just horrible. It's chalkboard. I would just get a nice white screen. You can have dangling hooks or something with presets and just hang it off the same thing every time I photograph it. But having this dot board just looks really bad, especially at the high quality level of the artwork. It just really demeans the artwork. So yeah, don't use this kind of board. It's fine for a studio to hang your paints off of and whatever, but don't hang your paintings off a really crappy non-gallery look. No gallery is going to have this crap unless you're really kind of a beginner gallery that's kind of like student co-op and they don't know what the hell they're doing and they put this shit up on the wall. But any professional gallery where they're selling for money and they're not charging the artist money will never sell this kind of stuff like that. So that's kind of not what you want to do. So he has a CD. So he's actually made violins. So it's kind of a little bit of a challenge in the sense that, so he actually does make violins. So he has this kind of dual businesses. He makes violins. He's a violinist and he does painting. I don't know how you would put it together. You can either put it all together like he's done here as one website, or you have it separate and you have a violin side and you have art side. So a little bit of challenge because music and things overlap. He has graphite drawings. Let's see what this is. These are cool. Again, shooting on a table. This is better than the caulkboard, way better, but it still doesn't look professional. Especially if you can draw this well, it kind of doesn't make sense to be presenting it in a non-professional way. And I guess this is kind of the way Instagram does it, where you put a pencil and you show that it's a real drawing. But I'm not sure that's the best way to do it on your own website. So he has kind of his about page. You could probably get a better shot here. The lighting is really overcast. So you might want to kind of explore that and look for a better day to photograph off of. Maybe you don't live next to where you want to shoot the photo, so maybe that's why he hasn't reshot it. But this isn't really a great shot. Compositionally, it's okay, but it has like this streak of light. It just could be better. Better lighting, I would go for golden hour, I think, blue hour maybe, and just reshoot it with maybe a little bit of light, a little artificial light even if you have to, but just, it's not a strong painting. It's kind of cool he puts his references and everything, so he's just a little closer. This is kind of his activities of life, but some of it doesn't. It's kind of cool, but I don't know if this picture really represents being a painter that well, or this picture. I have some goofy pictures of myself, but you don't want to have it. You want to be authentic, but more kind of like in the artistic authenticity, like you're painting on a beach. A picture of that is great. You're doing an outdoor fair. Maybe that's a great photo, but having photos that don't have anything to do with painting at all is kind of like, even a painting of the violin would make more sense than these. This one's kind of cool, but he's a violinist and main soloist of the Kempters. So that's why he has this combined site. So he has this music band and painter. So it's kind of a little bit of a challenge, I would say, because I have multiple talents as well, but I try to have my art is only an art site. He has a contact page, just real nice and simple. Let's see what his original art is. Maybe he has some paintings up here. So this is okay with on the easel. It's kind of a cool look. That's not bad, I'd say. I'd still put it on a white wall. I think it's gonna just look better. I put it with kind of a white wall next to kind of an artificial setup, like with the armchair and everything. That's the best way. I use the software for that. So on mine, I use a software called, I just have it on my iPad here. It's called Photographer's Wall. I don't know if you can see that at all. Wall display guide, and it just allows you to put kind of a custom setup, which is really cool. You can do like couches and walls and whatever kind of different scenario, but you can actually color change them. So you can go from like a dark wall like this to a white wall to a red wall to a really good variant, so you can make the painting match the background. So I would put that as a highly recommended way to do this. Having one of these is like this. I would do maybe the drawings this way off the easel. That might look really cool with maybe a cardboard background to hold it up. I think the graphite drawing might look cool on an easel like this, but It's definitely better than that whole corkboard or whatever. I've had it before for a studio. It's great for a studio, but it's horrible for photographing. These are all really strong works. But yeah, I would put it on a white wall with kind of next to it armchair or something to make it a little more chill. I mean, the only thing good about having it set up a little bit amateur is that you get better sales sometimes. So hard to say. But yeah, that's his website. It would be kind of cool to have a little bit of the videos, because he could put his best sample YouTube videos is kind of integrated into his website. That will help you connect better with the people if they find you through your website versus your YouTube channel. That sometimes happens. So yeah, just something to think about. I go check him out. He's Chris Kempter. Check him out. If you guys like to subscribe, you can subscribe below. And I'll see you in the next Artist React video. See you guys.